tweeting through it, guys.
Yes.
Have shown that we've seen the first 2 episodes. We weren't able to review the first one because of said fire last week.
Fire.
I was mad too. I really want to talk about it.
Yeah, we were really like set and ready, like literally in the studio prepping to get ready.
Someone was tweeting me and Roth like, "Are you guys going to talk about Watchmen?" I was like, "We were."
We definitely were gonna.
It was a fire.
So there was another episode playing for a second in the background. So just let everyone know that's done.
Oh,
we're all good.
apparently there was
We're good now.
You guys are getting 2 SJUs? The price of one?
That was from Earth 2.
Yeah, that was
There
our
we go.
2 SJU. That's the kind of value we give you guys, though. Like, some YouTube movie companies give you 1 episode of pundits talking about nerd stuff. We give you 2 at the same time.
Right.
Oh, jeez. All right, so I'll start back at the top in case it was just 2 of my heads probably wearing the same shirt saying 2 different things. HBO and Damon Lindelof's Watchmen adaptations. The first 2 episodes are out. Again, we weren't able to review the last one because everything was on fire. And then we do have a fan question. Cam Rich, what did you guys think of the Watchmen premiere?
Well.
Oh, all right.
I guess we'll turn this into
T-face.
what do we think of the first 2 at this point?
Yeah, we're talking about the first 2. Yeah.
Now,
spoilers. We're gonna.
Yeah,
spoil
there are going to be some
the heck out of
spoilers in this
these.
chat.
We're going to get into full spoilers here. I'm digging it. I really like it. I really like the approach to it. To take what many argue is an unadaptable story, but kind of the way I know that Damon used the term remix, which I don't know if I need to use that term. It's a sequel in however you want to call it, but
remix.
remix. But so far, I'm really intrigued by it. I really like sort of the world building they're doing and how it's using the original to set things up, but it's not necessarily completely like immersed in the original.
Right.
Yeah, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I think there's some interesting wrinkles on hooded justice, that are in this. That I think when you harken back to even the comic book, people had a thought of who hooded justice was because they might not have been able to look outside of their own experience to see that maybe hooded justice was this other type of person. That's interesting. I also think. We were going to savage it up a little, not me necessarily, but I think a lot of people savaged up the first episode because it kind of intoned that, well, the cops have to wear a mask because they're so virtuous and good, and the bad guys wear a mask because they're bad, but the good guys, there's a little bit more nuance now. I think at the end of the second episode, we see that there's more nuance in this situation.
And for me, I think that nuance actually hit the first episode because I went in a little trepidatious, especially like, there have been some bad things that have happened in Texas recently where people were shot in their own homes. So, that was one thing that kind of stuck out for me. So I was a little worried about that, but I go in fresh and like, hey, like this is, it's Lindelof, it's Watchmen. It's not going to go the way that you think it's going to go. There's always going to be something, there's always going to be a twist. There's always going to be something extra. So just, take off your preconceived notions and watch it. And it's definitely, because I know a lot of other people who were feeling the same way, it's definitely not that. It starts by explaining to people about the fire of Black Wall Street, and that actually trended on Twitter, which is something that I certainly didn't learn about in school. I didn't learn about until I was older. Granted, my public school sucked, and I went to an arts conservatory, so of course I didn't. But hearing how many people had never heard of this, and it was now this history that they're talking about because of this ostensibly comic book show, that's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, I knew it happened, but watching the show, I was like, oh, for the alt history of Watchmen, like they really like escalated. No, there were planes. It was bad.
Yeah, no,
like,
that's how it was.
It was really intense. Look, hot take Sally's sidekick over here definitely wanted to not like a Watchmen show. I think I'm just like, I like the book. I'm just tired of that. I'm getting a little tired of that era. That whole like era of reaction comics. I'm just like, I'm good. Let's
no
move
more
on to something.
deconstructionalism.
Let's definitely move on to '92. That was when it was all about spikes and black slimes that got into you, bigger guns. Yeah, no feet. Like, can we please go to a more civilized time?
Roll out the fog.
That said, I mean, this show had me like 2-3 minutes in. And I agree with you guys when the trailers kind of come out and you're like, oh, some of the imagery here, but that's also Watchmen. Like I feel like Watchmen goes like, boom, like big, like smack you in the head ideas and starts at the macro and really kind of starts to just hone in. And just, like this show's doing the same thing.
And just to be clear, the only alternate history part of the Tulsa part was that maybe they were watching Bass Reeves shorts rather than like the Lone Ranger, who he's apocryphally supposed to be based on. You know, Bass Reeves was a super dope black lawman back in the days and had silver stuff and blah blah. But beyond stuff like that, beyond the fact that a bunch of people or a theater of people would watch something like that in that time, beyond that, everything at the planes, they hired private planes to dump fire on people's businesses to drive them out in real life. That literally really happened. So I think that was another weird thing. It was almost anachronistic in the first episode when they brought the planes back, but it was like, yeah, I guess planes are racist in this world. these dang planes looking down on everybody.
No, I think the original, it's. And I've got to look. Full disclosure, I've got to brush back up. It's been a minute since I cracked open Watchmen, because that's a big one to just be like, I got a few hours on this Sunday.
Yeah, no,
what do I want to do?
That's not a time to kill.
Crack open Lord Glycon's favorite book. But I feel like Watchmen is, in among a lot of things, is such a strong commentary on Vietnam and how Alan Moore felt about the U.S. at the time and their foreign policy, that I do think you've got to, if you're going to do a Watchmen story, it can't just be about like the hero, like the characters and the ideas. And I think some of the comics that they've done around Watchmen since the sequels ones, and like made that mistake a little bit, where it's like, here's what matters: Ozymandias, where's he at? And it's like, no,
doesn't matter at all.
I think the what you've really got to do is come at it with like a big idea and a big point of view, and they absolutely have.
Yeah, they nailed that. So do you think that there was a right approach for them to base this more? Because it is clearly based off the books. It is not based on the movies. Do you think that that was the right call?
Yeah, I think 100%. I mean, but it's like, it's funny because I know Lindelof is friendly with Zack Snyder. He even told the story doing press for this show about when Snyder showed him a rough cut of Watchmen. It was like way longer. So it's like, on one hand, I don't think he's like, screw that movie. But it's like, I think just, I think he also said candidly, look, I don't think you can, it is unadaptable, that comic, to make that exact story into something that works, especially in a movie when you have to cut out so much.
Right.
I think it makes sense to just be like, if you've read those 12 issues, this is what happened. If you didn't, this is this weird world where people, just grew up with people in costumes, And that's the thing about the police, which I think is really interesting, because yes, of course, I had the same, like, oh, so they're saying like the police are all masked and that's a good thing? But then, yeah, clearly by the second episode, when, again, spoilers, when Don Johnson's character is revealed to have a clown outfit in his closet, it's like, no, it's not a good thing if you don't know who any of the cops are and if they all are wearing masks. So I think, yeah, just using those comics as the springboard was definitely the right way to go, especially since, as you mentioned, Joe, it's like the comics now have done all these other sequels and things, and they can't possibly try to integrate all of that. So it's just like, no, just treat those 12 issues as the story.
It did definitely feel like they were going a little heavy at Zack Snyder's movie, though, with the American Hero story.
The slow-mo and the greatness.
Which I love all of. So far, I'm still trying to. I'm assuming American Hero Story is this movie's, or is this show's Black Freighter.
Right.
Because I keep trying to. At first, watching the first episode, I was thinking, how brilliant is it that this show's Black Freighter is Black Oklahoma?
I kind of wanted that to continue. I did.
Yeah.
But it definitely felt like when the show's like, warning, this show contains hella violence, misogyny, sex scenes.
And then they cut to take you out, emissary.
It does remind you of like Zack Snyder's quote about like, my Batman could be sexually assaulted in a prison. It's like, like it does seem like a reflection.
Yeah, it definitely
of that.
felt like that.
Brutal.
I missed that quote somewhere.
You didn't.
That's right up there with Goyer's quote about
my life
She-Hulk.
was better for it.
There is a
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. One thing I would like to say, it is interesting. It seemed like a dig, but it's an important dig, because as much fighting as Regina King's character is doing in this story, I don't want to be a fight nerd about this, but it seems really plausible. It seems like she's doing things that show training and an actual person's ability to do some of these things. Zack Snyder's whole misapprehension in the movie, in my personal point of view, is not rendering the heroism of what a regular person can do. Every 115-pound wispy woman could kick a dude 57 feet in that world. In that world, a super blue man that can destroy Vietnam by himself isn't even that fantastical, because every other person can kick people 50 feet. You have to show what human frailty and what human heroism looks like in order to truly appreciate the awe of a Superman. And he didn't get it. Everybody was a Superman in Watchmen, and that's one of myriad reasons why it didn't work for a lot of people.
And I'll be one of the ones who says, like, the original cut didn't work for me, but the director's cut made it feel like more of a movie and more of a complete story, which it sucks because then that stuff should be in your movie, but that's,
Sure, but
you know.
yeah, what are you going to do?
What are you going to do? So this latest episode, it is the Hooded Justice TV episodes. It does look like it is directly tying into and maybe answering some questions from the comics, something that you referred to earlier. Do you like that, or do you feel like they should just leave all of that old stuff out?
I think it seems like they're walking an interesting line, right? Because I think props to the show, because I always remember things from Watchmen. So if there's probably 75 Easter eggs an episode, and I'm missing most of them.
Right.
My wife doesn't really know the story beyond having seen the movie back in the day when it came out. Still engaged though. Like, she doesn't need all of the some of it. She's like, what?
Well, like she doesn't need to see the egg separating scene where there's a little bit of red in the smiley face of the egg to be like the comedian. She doesn't need that.
Yeah, but still like super engaged without having like a 101 digest on the lore, sitting in front of her. So I think props to the show for being able to walk a line where you can come in completely fresh and still be completely into the show. But I also think, pure story-wise, it seems like they're going in a direction that will satisfy in terms of a continuation of the Watchmen, but not at the cost of its own story. It seems like they are using the story they want to tell to provide you with some answers in terms of what happened post-Watchmen. I love the little stuff of the squid truthers is brilliant.
Yeah. But to that point, I would like to that point, the naivete of the world's smartest man. I think that's what the show is really about. Because Ozymandias really thought that we were all going to get together because we saw some squids. We saw a squid and then a bunch of little ones. We saw this was squid-tastic, and that was going to unite everybody. No. People are going to take that power vacuum, and Dr. Manhattan being an absentee landlord, as Al Pacino would say in Devil's Advocate. The Blue Man group is up in Mars, jacking around, you know what I'm saying, making sandcastles.
Doing Tai Chi and doing yoga.
Doing naked Tai Chi.
Finding himself.
Yeah, doing naked Tai Chi like they're doing Die Hard 2. Like up there messing around while we on Earth have to deal with the real. The repredations, the this, the that. We have all these different problems that aren't solved because everybody got scared for 5 minutes by a squid. I think that's cool. Them acknowledging that is a comic book stupid serial villain plan.
Yeah.
And it didn't work.
Yeah.
I love that.
It doesn't translate into the real world.
I love that.
I feel like, Alan Moore is infamously a grumpy man, and hates every adaptation of all of his work. So I feel like it seems like Lindelof has done the smart thing, which is just try to divorce that from his mind, because yes, like Hooded Justice, Alan Moore probably has a very specific idea of who Hooded Justice. That was like in the comic. They never revealed who it was. So he has his own idea. This show now, the prevailing fan theory is that it's Louis Gossett Jr.'s character, Will, I believe is his name.
Yes.
That's what, it seems there's a lot of strong hints that it will turn out he is Hooded Justice. And I think that's great. And yeah, the idea you mentioned, it's like, the idea that this was this guy, no one knew who he was, and that the prevailing theory would never be that he could be a black guy because he was a hero in the 40s and it can't be a black guy under that costume. But it's like, he probably, this guy was there the whole time, and now we're going to get an answer. Again, it wouldn't be Alan Moore's answer, but it doesn't need to be. I really like what Lindelof has said when he's talking about the show, because he's obviously very worshipful of Alan Moore's work, but at the same time, he's like, look, Alan Moore did his spin on Swamp Thing and his spin on a million characters, and he didn't consult with the people who wrote before them, and again, it's not like he's burning copies of the 12-issue miniseries Watchmen. I think what he's doing is just very interesting.
The man who did Lost Girls really has no room to complain. I'm sorry. You have no room to complain. Don't Google Lost Girls at work, but
No.
Definitely don't. But
Yeah, if you
Alan,
need more sex than your Peter Pan.
yeah, he took a bunch of fairy tales and he made them super porny. So
It did feel like there was a very specific cut scene in Hook between Julia Roberts and Robin Hood. I'm just gonna throw it out there.
But yeah, no. So that we'll continue to give you our Watchmen thoughts on Mondays because I'm sure that we're going to have plenty of them. Also, the moths were just cool. It was just neat. I was like, Arthur, but of course it wasn't. But it made me really happy.
I like those moths.
I do love those moths. All right, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We've got some more great stories coming up, but for right now, make sure that you like and subscribe and hit that bell. The Galaxy Quest documentary trailer is out. We have partnered with Fathom. Why can I never say that?
You're trying to merge the two.
I am. Fathom.
That's a shipper name.
To release the documentary in theaters on November 26th. Click the link in the description to buy your tickets. Also, take pictures with your tickets so that we can see them and send those over to us. We're going to start tomorrow where we're gonna put up some screenshots and give some shout outs to some people that have already gotten their tickets. We want to know who we're going to be enjoying this movie with. We want all of you to know. So please send us those pictures over and we're going to put them up on the show so that everybody can see the lovely people who are supporting all of the really cool stuff that we're doing.
Yeah, I think more than anything else, we're really just really thankful for you guys supporting this, supporting everything we do. You guys coming in and hanging out in this chat every morning and watching our stuff is the only reason we get to do this. So, yeah, we want to be able to throw your mug on the screen. We want to be able to thank you. We're going to continue making some cool announcements sort of so that we can kind of be able to give back to you guys for supporting this thing and carrying it and helping us build it up and make sure it's a success so we can do more of this stuff and hopefully even get this wider. I know that if you're not living in the States, I know we've gotten some folks that are just frustrated, and rightfully so. Thank you guys so much for caring about this thing enough to be like, why can't I watch this in Spain? The hope is that this does well enough the November 26th that we can open it up wider. So thank you guys so much for helping us really knock this thing out of the park. We truly appreciate it.
Seriously. And keep telling us about all the places that you want to see it, because the more that people see that, the more likely it can be that it might get to some of these places.
Hashtag never surrender.
And use the hashtag never surrender.
Oh, yes,
thank you very much. Hashtag never surrender. We will be going through those and we will be taking your screenshots and putting your lovely mugs all over our channel. Next, story 2. It's the Streaming Wars! Streaming Wars update. South Park could get $500 million. This is via LA Times and Bloomberg. Reports are saying that while for now South Park episodes can be streamed on Hulu, at least 6 companies are battling each other to wrestle away its streaming rights. The deal could fetch anywhere between $450 million and $500 million. Now, Hulu paid $192 million for the show's rights in 2015, so the new deal is probably going to double that. Is the guess? Everybody and their mom is coming for this. We're guessing it's going to be like HBO Max, Amazon, the Peacock. Yeah, like except Disney Plus. Everybody except Disney Plus. Disney's cool.
Quibi.
Quit being like that.
Quibi. The name
They're
will
gonna
never
break
stop.
it up into like 2-minute episodes.
right.
Yeah. Everyone's just going to be like
2-minute chunks.
a Kyle dying. So what do y'all think about, first of all, the rights to South Park going for so much money? Is it worth it?
Well, I'll go first. I think it's a cultural repository no matter what line you are. Whatever side of whatever political spectrum you're on is immaterial. Those years and years and years of up to the minute political and social commentary.
Yeah.
That's a repository I can see fetching that. To me, Friends is a time capsule, whereas this is like an encyclopedia.
Interesting. Well, especially because with their animation style, they are able to crank out an episode in a week, which is like unheard of in animation. Yeah. And so they are able to literally tackle things as they are happening.
Rip from the headlines, animation.
Them and the Annoying Orange. Those are the two.
It does make
That's where I
sense.
go for my news. The Annoying Orange.
It makes sense to me, because they were pointing out it's like, if you look, because $500 million is what we've been seeing for like The Office and Friends and some of these mega shows. Now, you don't usually think of South Park in the same mind frame says, but first of all, they pointed out it's like
You did for a while.
And the other thing is South Park has been producing episodes for over 20 years.
Yes, so it's a huge back catalog.
They are getting like, you know, more for less if you break it down, but at the same point, it has been on for 20 plus years, which means, look, I haven't watched South Park in quite a while, but it is a multi-generational show now. You know, like The Simpsons, there are people watching it who weren't born when it started. And so, yeah, I know. So there's a lot of value to that. It's like, because the fact that it's all of it, and it's like, it could be someone who wants to go back and watch, I want to watch season 1 of South Park again, and it's a 15-year-old kid who's never seen season 1 of South Park but likes the new ones. I see why they think, okay, this is like, you know, and there's so much name value to it, and it still continues to have merchandise and Kyle and Cartman dolls.
They're still making video games. There's a lot of merch going on.
Ed actually hit me on the TV fights of all this without realizing, because, you know, my one thought that I had on this was, I mean, it is so dependent on news and being current.
Right.
But I really appreciate your angle on that, where it's like, no, this is a repository. This is a Smithsonian of
Right. Well, and it does it in such a way.
Commentary.
It's not like, because we're not going to go back and watch old episodes of The Daily Show. Like, we're just not. There's too much, and it really is like, it's got to be current. But because of the way that they tackle current events, by doing it through humor, the jokes can still land and they still make sense.
Yeah.
So you can watch it again for the jokes.
Yeah, Scott Baio being a monster's arm as a way to talk about X, Y, and Z will always be a thing.
Exactly.
And I think we're also entering the age where we can get our woke panties in a bunch about a lot of things, but if we see it in a big place where it's like, okay, that's where that lives, I think we're right at the stage where we're able to accept that. Maybe they won't be able to do some of these things in the future, but they did it then, and it's okay. It's different than the old WB cartoons that are censored and changed so much for the modern generation. We haven't quite lost. You know what I'm saying? We haven't quite lost the cultural remembrance of times where you can get away with X joke or Y joke. So it's not like, oh, I'm woke, I hate this. It's like, oh, they could do it at that time. I think more and more hip people would be able to watch this.
Or even just to like, I don't like it. It's not for me. It's for somebody. It's not for me.
Exactly.
On a business level, it's interesting for me to notice that South Park is owned by Viacom, and it's just interesting because we're seeing this era now where everyone wants to own their own not own it, but like have it on their own platform. Obviously, Warner Media and Disney are the two big ones. Like it's all going on our home. It's just interesting to me that Viacom's not doing that. They have CBS All Access, but it's like they're selling this to the highest bidder. That Grease show is going on HBO Max, so it's like Paramount licensing out Grease. So it's just interesting to me that their approach does not seem to be, I thought they'd put it all on CBS All Access, but instead they're like, no, we'll sell it.
Viacom also has BET, correct?
I believe so.
And so BET is doing their own streaming service with Tyler Perry, rather than, again, having it be in one big Viacom lump where you can watch your Real Worlds and, you know, your Tyler Perry movies and your Star Trek.
Yeah, well, they're shooting at niches, which is probably the way to go. I mean, it seems like we've been prophesizing that for like years now. It's just like, dude, shoot those few thousand or few 100,000 or a few million in this case, fish in a barrel. Shoot those good and worry about the rest of the ones in the ocean later.
Well, I think there's something to be said too with being flexible right now as well, because I think even Warner Brothers, even with having HBO Max, I can't remember if any specific deals have been set up this way yet, but I have read that they're not opposed to continuing to license out stuff that they make, like they always have, even before the days of the streaming wars.
Even stuff they did in the last year or two, like Veronica Mars coming back on Hulu is like, you know, that's a Warner Brothers show, and they obviously knew they were doing HBO Max even if they didn't have that name yet, but they didn't wait. They're just like, okay, it's on Hulu. So I remember at Comic-Con that was funny to me because Hulu is now obviously fully part of Disney, but they had Veronica Mars posters. So like, Warner Brothers, Veronica Mars on Disney's Hulu.
Yeah, I think
there's some leftovers.
I think some of these studios are going to Sony as well. I think are
Sony especially
stay a little smarter, a little more flexible as opposed to just putting. And I get that strategy because I mean Disney's a Leviathan. You know, and Warner is to some degree. Not in terms of necessarily like brand recognition like Disney, but just in terms of resources, especially from the merger and the type of titles they're sort of swinging back with. I can see just being like playing the mercenary game. here
Well,
and making a lot of money out of it.
Thank you for giving me that, because next in the streaming wars, HBO Max is going to be. They are going to get Studio Ghibli. This is via Variety, and so they have acquired the streaming rights, meaning the entirety of the iconic Japanese Animation Studios collection will be available on HBO Max upon launch on spring 2020. Which is, it's a lot, because I think none of us were, because I believe they've also got like Crunchyroll and some other things. I know that the studio themselves has kind of said sometimes, like, I don't know if we want to get involved, and HBO's like, yeah, you are.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I think
the day before
IndieWire like ran, and this isn't IndieWire's fault, but they like ran a story that was like, Ghibli's never streaming, or they'll never stream. Theatrical experience, they're going further than Nolan, theatrical, and then the next day was like, Ghibli will stream.
Wait, how much money you got, Warner? Okay.
Yeah. This one was interesting to me, simply because rampant speculation. I have no way to back any of this up.
Speculate.
This was interesting to me simply because of the relationship their studio has always had with Disney.
Yes. Distributed here, right?
Disney distributed, Disney championed. I think it's rare that you see Disney executives go on camera and they're like, guys, obviously give us all your money, but also give all your money to Miyazaki, the dude. This is the dude. It's rare that you see that. You know, maybe every now and then on Twitter, you know, someone with Marvel and DC these days will be like, guys, we don't hate each other. We all support each other's comics. But it's rare that, like, you see someone straight up just like, holy crap, my name's Dan Slott. Have you read Suicide Squad #5? Because it's the toots.
Yeah.
So that was interesting to me. I think, and again, rampant speculation, I'm curious if Disney at any point has made an offer to Pixar them up and say, hey, you know, you'll still do your thing, but you're Disney. I'm wondering if there were at least conversations,
or even what Pixar was before Disney fully bought them, when it was like they had that long-term deal.
Yes,
it was like you know, Toy Story through The Incredibles, where it's like you're your own company, but we partner on everything, and you know, we will distribute it. All.
Just purely based on the relationship they've always had. I wouldn't doubt that those conversations at least got skirted around a little bit.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me either. So and Studio Ghibli, they have like their own stuff going on. They've got, you can take their big studio tour. They're going to build a theme park soon. So they do have their own, you know, they are building up to their own version of a Disney that they are working for. But also along with them, HBO Max also recently ordered 4 Adventure Time specials and got the rights to classic Boondocks show.
Which our friend Charlie Feldman is writing.
Not Boondocks.
Not Boondocks,
Adventure Time. Friend of the show, Charlie Feldman, writing Adventure Time.
And Boondocks.
not Boondocks.
She is the only writer on Boondocks.
Well, big scoop here.
Aaron Magruder tested everything
He walked away. He put the Spider-Man suit in the trash can and he's walking down the alley.
It's still going to be, there are new episodes coming. It's still going to be Magruder's. So what are you thinking so far about what HBO's animation strategy is?
It's really impressive. I mean, although it does beg the question, hey guys, you know, you have some really big characters called Looney Tunes you should do something with?
Space Jam.
Space Jam 2 is coming.
Shelved though, right?
No,
the dude left it.
The director left, but I do think they replaced him. I think the movie is still happening in some form. But
you can't stop the jam.
Yeah. Space Jam aside, a non-basketball related Looney Tunes, they should do something. But
they keep trying though. What, the Lunatics when they were superheroes?
Look,
I guess they're doing.
I don't want to belabor the metaphor, but using the Warner Brothers cartoons isn't exactly a slam dunk. They try it a lot and they fail a lot.
I mean, they were able to do it when they did it back in the 90s when they brought back in Tiny Toons. That was amazing and did great for them. Animaniacs was amazing. I would watch new Animaniacs. Like I'm going to watch those like crazy.
But yeah, so it's impressive. I mean, I will say this. I was mentioning before we started filming, it's like I get the press releases HBO Max sends out, and they send out a lot of freaking press releases. It's just about every morning, and usually there's at least one, and sometimes there's 2 or 3 throughout the day. Of deal. So it's you know, and it keeps getting, you know, attention. People say, I don't know if I need HBO Max, and it's like, but we have this.
Well,
we have Crunchyroll. We have this. We have
and to
DC
that point,
I
think it's one of those it's like a war. Like, you guys watch wrestling, so when somebody grabs somebody else's guy into their gang, the NWO type of situations, the Rock being part of the Nation type situations, when you grab some guy and you get him into your gang, there's a nice little, got this guy. He slams this way, whatever. So
they do all slam different ways.
I appreciate you doing this.
I like how you slam, sir.
I like the slam of your gym. I like the bump of your slam.
I like the slam of your ghibli.
I actually withheld my wrestling metaphor from my soundbite, so I appreciate the one non-wrestling guys.
It's always Eric always gives us the wrestling stuff, and we're over here just like, oh, honey, if we could, we would have by
I was going to jump full into, because WWE recently tried to buy a Japanese promotion to really launch WWE Japan, and that was my thought on Disney. That's where I was going to go with Disney.
Well,
and then you skirted back.
It holds back the wrestling so much, guys.
But like, I think if you look at it, WB's strategy seems to be very plain. All non-Disney-fied animation belong to us. That's what it is. That's what it is. And I think that's interesting. And to your point about Ghibli's, grabbing them, Disney is like that comedian that goes, "You're funny. I'll never bring you on the road. I'll never." But you are so funny, poor person. You are such a funny bum.
And who are you thinking about right now?
I'm just thinking.
It's like headliners with women comedians they like. And they're like, oh, you're really funny. You're so good.
There are funny women out there.
Yeah, come over and write some jokes.
It's like, no,
but yeah.
I'm not going to bring you on the road or anything.
No, yeah.
But you're so funny.
Yeah, and so that's Disney's relationship with Ghibli. It's just like, hey, you do that cute thing over there that we might not be able to monetize the way we'd like to. There ain't enough, but the bottom line is they saw it as a nice thing, and WB goes, nah, we're down with that, because WB, they are nothing if not an iconoclastic company. I'm starting to see that more and more. Like, Sony's trying to horn in on the iconoclast game, but WB is like, they're real. They seem like two brothers. The whole studio thing I used to, we're gonna do this, we're gonna buy this, and you're gonna screw the mouse. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, they're really doing it.
They're going for, it's like, because now I'm remembering, they've got the BBC deal and Doctor Who and all that stuff. It's like, they're going for all these cult things, which are not just cult things. I mean, they're huge audiences.
Yeah. Right. Oh, it definitely feels like, cute. Like, it definitely feels like you've got like the evil. I'm not assigning alignments to Disney. I'm just doing this for the visual example. Right. But you have like the Overlord, like Thanos, Sauron army here, and then over here this lineup definitely feels like the moment where someone's like, they're not alone, and like BBC comes out, and Ghibli comes out, and like Crunchyroll walks out of a portal, and like Friends parachutes in. And, like, it definitely feels like this weird like alliance. The last alliance of elves and men and Kiki's Delivery Service. Like,
and the Doctor and Sandy and Danny all together.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Now we're going to wrap up. We've got some fan questions. This is via the community tab. Also, some male headliners take women on the road, just not most of them. Just not.
I'm sorry to bring the comedy germ into this. It's just
so you have stand-up comedy and wrestling. Sven asks, "What's your favorite type of restaurants?" Mine would be an alfresco dinner style restaurant that allows dogs to be in a company while we're having a beautiful sea bass dinner.
Very specific.
Very specific.
I don't know. When I first read this question, I was like, Sven, like furry fish. But I get the.
It's like a room that allows comedy, where I'm allowed to go on the road. Where Ron Punches stops talking smack and takes me as a feature.
Well, dude, I mean, this. So this is a specific vision. What is you guys' favorite? I can't even think of one. I'm so enthralled by Sven's, because like when they, those great restaurants that bring the bass out and they're just like, look at it.
Yeah.
It's got it. Look at its eyes.
It looks at you. My wife can't deal with food that looks at her. We were in Paris and she got a seafood thing, and then she goes, and I looked at what she had, and she goes, Eric, there's a problem, and it was that her fish were looking at her, and I needed to deal with that for her.
Yeah, I understand.
Good husband duties.
Man, I'm trying to. There's like elements that come to mind. Like, I'm like, I need some peanut shells on the floor.
Oh, that's the kind of bar I like.
Yeah, I need like a nacho cheese pump somewhere. I want to go to Fuddruckers, is what I'm saying. I just really want to go to Fuddruckers, specifically in Walnut Creek in the East Bay of the Bay Area.
I think
It's a
for
good
me,
Fuddruckers.
ooh, that's a good Fuddruckers.
It's a really good.
I think for me, it would be like there'd have to be karaoke. Karaoke, tacos, definitely. Also, just good like a steak deal. Well, vodka, a flowing. And I don't have one, but I would like to be able to bring my pet bird. Just bring,
I didn't know you wanted a pet bird.
I don't, but for the restaurant, I do now.
Okay, I see. Specifically,
I want to do karaoke with a pet bird on my shoulder.
They're the dogs chasing the bird around. It's all
The whole
hijinks.
animal adventures.
Warner Brothers.
I'm a big. I like a good shawarma stand. I'm not one of these Avengers, even though I'm wearing Avengers jacket. Avengers shawarma bandwagon people, though. I grew up loving shawarma. Love my.
All right, hey, yeah, because hang on.
I was OG.
Show some credentials.
Tony Stark said to think about it.
OG shawarma.
I love me some Zanku. I love
Shawarma
getting
hipster.
stinky. And I want to pour one out for Falafel King in Westwood, which had the best shawarma in LA, and they closed recently. So that was very sad for me. So a good shawarma stand. But yeah, sure. I like to bring a dog too. You know.
Like, yeah, swim in that garlic sauce.
Yeah. Now I'm just thinking about food we can't have out here.
Oh yeah,
Something.
yeah.
Long John Silver's is not good,
No.
Never been.
but like once a month, because we don't have it out here.
Yeah.
Once a month, I just want that. I don't know why. Like, if I still lived in Kentucky, I promise you that I'd never wake up in the morning and be like, I want to go to Long John Silver's right now. But like once a month here, I'm just like, if I don't have Long John Silver's, I'm just gonna probably hit
Well,
something.
this is gonna turn into.
I could fry you up some just greasy,
Not the
oily.
same.
just
Well, dude,
But
disgusting-
but that's the thing. You're not gonna put it in the box right. You're not gonna throw it in there with some goofy chicken
I
product.
need to go somewhere. I need to go somewhere that on their extra add-on menu has small tub of fried pieces,
Bits.
like as fried bits.
No,
Like I need to go.
This
I
is
need
about to
go.
be Midwest South Fish Chat because there's there's a place called
Fish chat, fish chat.
there's a place called Captain D's.
Captain
that's
D's,
in
baby.
the Midwest and in the South.
Slightly
And
better
it
than Long John Silver's.
It is slightly better than Long John Silver's by the hair of its chinny chin chin, and the employees do not care about you and your life. They're not into it at all. You're gonna get your stuff slammed in the box.
Yep.
But if you're cool with them being a jerk, you'll get extra Crispies, and you'll get. And it's just a beautiful experience. But it's bad, and your tummy will not thank you.
No.
But it's just one of the. I do get that scarcity thing. Like yeah, there are places that if
purely
I'm
the scarcity.
over there and it's far away from my house, I'll get it. I'm over here.
Is that the restaurant that you would want?
No, mine honestly is like he was saying something that you can't have around here. Just decent fat stacks of barbecue. Just a nice real spare rib, not a baby back rib, you Philistines. I'm talking about an actual spare rib. They call them St. Louis style, but Missouri, as in Kansas City, Missouri, makes them the best. And just Kansas City style brisket, not soaking in sauce, but not naked.
I'm with you.
You know what I'm saying? Just too much of it, almost like a deli sandwich, but with real barbecued brisket.
So the Tony
Nuts.
Roma's at like Universal isn't doing it for you?
No, I mean that's somebody's grandma's recipe, not mine.
I ain't Ed Roma.
When I went to college in Boston, and yeah, it's just like I grew up in LA, and so I missed having like great Mexican everywhere around me, in Boston.
Yeah.
That was the thing. It was like, yeah, it was so hard to find like,
Take these round tortilla chips.
Yeah. Like once in a while we go to a place, someone's like, this is a good Mexican restaurant. I'd be like, it's okay. It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
we don't have enough garbage China buffets either. That's important
Yeah.
to me.
Oh, you know what? There's one. I don't want. Maybe we'll charge them. Anyway, there's a Vegas buffet in Pasadena that my girlfriend loves because she's such a waste in buffets.
Okay.
Like
Yeah. I was waiting.
No, you gotta get what? I'm trying to get divorced on the air. I'm just donezo.
Things just got dark, guys.
Dude, she's watching this at the job that pays for our lifestyle.
We love you, Clay.
Good stuff, I promise.
you know, but I'm Mr. Barry the lead. So, but she is a waste at buffets, and she doesn't take the multiple trips. She doesn't really dig it. But this place has wonderful crab legs. I mean, people come from all around. That the lobby's always full of people waiting, beepers in hand.
Oh yeah,
strollers. It's time to go eat. And it's got sushi. It's got barbecue ribs that are passable, and it's got these crab legs, and she gets the amount I would have paid at a crab restaurant.
There you go.
Times 4 from this vat of wonderful crab.
I got chased out of a Chinese buffet in college because we used to go with a backpack full of Tupperware. And the owner straight up caught me putting chicken on stick, and it's just called chicken on stick. If it's not just called chicken on stick, it's not a real Chinese buffet. If it says chicken on sticks, or if it says skewered chicken, chicken on stick. And I was just loading him into a Tupperware, and he saw me from across the piece, and I was like, dude,
buffets show who you really are.
That's a nice segue for the next question.
That is a great segue for the next question.
Setting it up.
So now we know what Joe was like in college. But since Samantha Ramirez asks, what were you guys like in college? Where did you go? What was your major? And what was your favorite memory? Joe, what was your major?
What was my major? Yeah. I started as a religious studies major and then stopped believing in God and became a theater major.
Those two things often coincide.
There's a weird road where it was like religious studies and seminary, ska band, improv troupe.
So ska is the devil. All right, I'm writing this down. Ska is
I dropped my faith and I never picked it up.
Clee has put more of the info for that buffet in the chat.
Clee put the info in the chat. So if you're in the chat, thank you, Clee.
Nice.
What were you like in college? Where did you
honestly, I was still in Missouri. I wanted to be closer to my mom, and I ended up having to kick it after 2 years. I was like, I can't really do this. I got to go make some money to help everybody. But bottom line is, when I was in college, honestly, it was a way for me to realize that high school never ended, and I really needed to get the hell out of Missouri. So my whole first 2 years of college, I was just really thinking about this sucks. This sucks, and it's a waste of, I don't want to call it my talent, but my weirdness. Let's say that. It's a waste of my weirdness. Yeah. This whole thing is a waste of my weirdness. And I really started to hatch the plan to come out here in college. It took a few years to get enough capital to enact it. But that was the dawning. I remember that I was always thinking that I was out of place and this was a waste of my time and I should have been actually doing something. That's what I recall.
No, I hear that, yeah.
I get that.
I mentioned I went to school in Boston. I went to Emerson College. I was a film major, and it was a great place for weird artsy people. It was definitely a let your freak flag fly kind of place. Yeah. There was actually we did one day. There was a Q&A with Dennis Leary, Stephen Wright, and Anthony Clark because they were all alum. And so many people were in comedy troupes. A lot of my friends were in comedy troupes. I was a film major, but everyone was writing major, acting major, film majors.
Oh, and I forgot one thing. I spent a lot of time playing spades with St. Louis Crips that went to college with me.
Crippin' in college.
Yeah.
It's like we had the same childhood. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts.
I mean, that was a major part of it.
I was really, I look back and I was really scared in college. I did not, even in school and stuff, I did not let it, I tried to not let it slip as much as possible that I liked nerdy things. I was very uncomfortable with myself. If someone brought up Transformers or something like that, it took everything in me not to just be like, funny thing actually about what you just said that's slightly incorrect. Six shot actually. It was so hard to do stuff like that.
And do us as a panel, do you remember when it was more rare and you would find that person and you'd find yourself glomming onto somebody you didn't even particularly like?
Yeah.
Because they spoke your language?
Sure.
Just oh, this kid likes wrestling. Yeah, would you just like the slamming? I like the talking parts.
That was where I was lucky, I guess, that I went to a school that was everyone was super geeky. Even if they weren't, obviously everyone didn't like.
I did too. There was a guy we literally called Frodo, A, because he was small, and B, actually fairly hairy, and C, a total dork, so that loved Lord of the Rings. So it all just worked on this very nice Venn diagram. I went to school with all those people, but I think just me, self-esteem wise, comfortability wise, there was still always a part of me that was just nah, I gotta survive, man. Any minute now they're gonna kick down the door and they're gonna be like, who likes Robotech? And I'm gonna be like, shit.
No, I used to talk to those St. Louis Crips about Lord of the Rings all the time. nuanced feelings about works.
College turned me super pretentious because, like I said, I went to like an arts conservatory. I was a theater major. I definitely spelled it R-E. It was definitely.
I still do. And spell checks are all like, what are you doing?
God, it's the worst.
The theater.
And I would like come home,
Theatre.
and my family would be like watching a movie or whatever. I'd be like, it's no thank you for smoking. It's no, you know. I was not they'd put on their Tyler Perry and they love their Tyler Perry. And I would just come in and be like, so it's not coffee and cigarettes, but I've sucked. I've since apologized many times to everyone that
You're like
back
a
home.
band apart Daria.
I was so the worst. But I was still like a nerd, and I would go do my nerdy comic booky stuff because that was like, comic books are like a higher elevated art, and I guess you guys just like don't like get it because it's like the art and then like the words, and they both like come together. And Jack Kirby, and I'll explain. I mean, you wouldn't understand. It's like fine. I sucked. Oh my god, I sucked so bad.
Oh, man, I hid that stuff. I would do my new comic Wednesday, get a couple things, then go hide in the corner at the CC's Pizza next door, and just like hope nobody caught me reading my X-Men books.
Yeah, I was really into music, so it was. I didn't really feel like an outcast when music was playing, but when music wasn't playing and it was time to sit and talk about something, I really felt out of place a lot of the time. So yeah, but overall it was cool. Townies were fun. I had townies where I was from, so occasionally they would come around and be like, "Yeah, these college boys, they saunter up into our dorms."
Wow.
These freaking hayseeds. It was truly a unique experience. And then one of them sauntered in wearing all red. And you know that was all bad for my...
Yeah, for the St. Louis Crips, they did not enjoy that.
Yeah.
In college Crips.
Yeah. Excuse me, you're not doing the Crip walk correctly. They can show you with an animatic they made in Mac.
Oh, wow, we all sucked. But we don't suck now, and we have found a family, and we have found our home.
Yeah. Zach, light the fire!
Light the fire.
See you guys tomorrow!